schedule, we're going to have Dr. Donna Hedges, who is my counterpart here in terms of the planning and the preparation for this conference. And she and I have worked together for about 3 years in terms of helping ResearchGate bring these incredible, incredible speakers to you. So Donna, we're going to move her up before lunch, and she's going to, I think this is really quite a nice sequence. She's going to talk also about mentoring, but with nursing students. I think Dr. Geiger was talking about when you get them into the practice setting, but you know what? We've got to have them sooner because they may not choose to go into the profession. And you've heard it a couple times alluded to the fact that they may not stay. So she is in academia she assistant dean for Galen College of Nursing. And I think it's in some state that's in the United States, like maybe Texas or something like that. Anyway, but she's going to take us now on a mentoring discussion with students. And she's ambassador, chair. She's got all the titles and I'm assuming somewhere along the way, Dr. Hedges, were you mentored? Okay. So anyway, we want to. So it's a privilege to introduce to you Dr. Donna Hedges, and then so once she's finished, then you can eat. All right. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So this has been fabulous because Dr. Geiger just gave a wonderful introduction to talking about what do you do with students? And then Susan is going to follow with another presentation that will just dovetail right across these three presentations. Okay. So we're going to talk about the value of mentoring nursing students and preparing them for the future, because that's essentially what we're trying to do, right? How do you feel? How do you feel? So when I go into work, I have never, where I'm working right now, I'm the assistant dean for San Antonio Galen College of Nursing. And I've been there for 3 years, and I've never woke up one morning when I didn't want to go to work. Because I like the people I work with. Our students are extremely challenging, and I'll give you a little snapshot of what challenges our students have. But this is Tony. Tony is one of 5 Australian shepherds that I have at home. And Tony is kind of like, he has Napoleon syndrome, and he is a court jester, and he's a lot of things. But when I look at that picture, I feel good. So sometimes when my day gets a little crazy, I'll turn around and put my computer on and look at this picture. So whatever it takes for each of us to feel good about what we're doing, and not that we don't like what we're doing, but sometimes we don't feel good about it because there's too many changes, there's too many stressors, there's politics, there's dysfunction, and sometimes we're the dysfunction, right? So whatever we need to do to refocus, tell my students come back to Zen Center, especially when they're getting ready to take exams, because all of this noise, we can control some of that noise. And our students don't understand that. And I'll speak for our students. Our students don't understand that. Our students struggle very hard when they come into our program. They do their general education courses. Then in quarter 5, they start all their nursing courses to quarter 12. We run on a quarterly system, and we admit each quarter. And we admit upwards of 300 to 325 students. Right now, on our campus alone, we have 3,000 students, and over 1,100 of them are pre-BSN students. So we have a little bit of challenges where we are. Backwards. So we already talked about the concept of mentorship. We'll talk a little bit about associated challenges and the implications for student success, and well being. So, where we're going to end up is student well being. Because I don't think my whole premise is that mentoring's not enough. Mentoring's not enough for our students to be successful in the crazy making environment that is healthcare. Evaluate existing mentorship initiatives to identify opportunities for improvement. That is something that I hope all of us can do. If this presentation is helpful and and it gives you some takeaways, that's up to us to try and implement those things. Or how do these things fit in to your organizations versus mine? How many academics are in the room? Okay, so a few. When we talk about mentorship, when we talk about leadership, the tenets don't change. Whether you're in a hospital or you're a CPA or you're a student or you're a faculty member, the concepts of mentorship and wellness and um, don't change. Leadership doesn't change. Different challenges, got to tweak the application a little bit. But overall, leadership is leadership, and leadership rolls downhill. And when you're an academic senior leader, you have to be ready to be on your game, just like you have to do when you're a CNO or any other senior leadership position. And then looking at what ways, when we go back, can we create a comprehensive mentorship program to address multidimensional factors? And Dr. Geiger just gave you an excellent format to use. So we're going to just talk about more in general rather than how to implement a mentorship program. Student culture of success, growing number of non-traditional students. Our students, we are almost 70% diverse in our student population. Over 50% of our students are Pell eligible, so Pell Grant. So that tells you that they come from a lower socioeconomic status or environment. Efficacy, grit, emotional intelligence. Many of our students do not possess these. So while we're trying to teach them how to be nurses, we're trying to teach them how to be professionals and how to be adults in some instances. And it can get very challenging. College readiness, prior academic experience. We have students who got A's since they were born. They come into our program and they fail, and they cannot put it together. You're not teaching me right. You're wrong. I always got A's. And we are incumbent in the beginning of our program to try and prepare our students for what's ahead, but it's a very challenging thing to do. First generation students, we have a huge number of first generation students. Potential for increased pressure. I had a student one day come into me. She was failing. She was hysterical because she promised her grandmother when her grandmother was dying that she would be a nurse. And now she was failing. What was going to happen? Her parents took out loans for this. Another student, the family said, you don't have to work, come live with us. So it's not just the student, it's all of these others that really make up or have a part in student success. Generational differences, we went, Dr. Geiger went through that. That was fabulous. College readiness, again, prior academic experience. Some of our students have failed 3 courses before they come into the nursing courses. We accept our bottom line GPA is 2.0. We have some students that are at 1.6 and struggling. Life experiences and attributes, student characteristics of self-efficacy, and all of those things. Without that support or without that foundation, they're not going to be successful moving forward. So going the distance for a journey to a dream. So from a conceptual perspective, Dr. Geiger went over these things very, very well. So it's a formal or informal, but trusting. Trusting is the foundation of the faculty student relationship, of the CNO, charge nurse, bedside nurse relationship, one on one long term, being between a novice and a more experienced nurse, and then promoting support teaching, but increased coping skills. Some of our students fail out of our program because they can't manage to manage their stress, understand what is expected of them in learning nursing, and it's very, very difficult. So all of these things can impact student retention. And from our perspective, faculty satisfaction and retention and student satisfaction and retention are paramount. ROI comes after that. So mentoring is one, you recognize this picture? I was so pleased. I thought, oh, I got that picture too. That's good. So skill development, knowledge transfer, all these things are great. Better patient outcomes. Why is that on the bottom? Shouldn't patient outcomes be first? You can't get to better patient outcomes unless you do all of those things up there, right? So you're trying to teach students professionalism. It is very difficult to explain what is professional identity. We have to understand that some of our students who come into our program and will tell us what we can do with ourselves at times. Maybe that's how they were able to survive in their neighborhood, or maybe in their family of origin, or maybe because of their life experiences. Everybody gets a trophy, right? Whether your boat's upside down or it looks like the Titanic, everybody gets a trophy. These are the students that are coming through our nursing programs now. They are not used to failure. They don't know how to handle failure, and they take failure as like the terminal thing. So career advice, all of these things, increase confidence. We can't get to critical thinking, knowledge transfer, skill development unless we increase their confidence. Because many of our students have zippo nursing or medical experience. We also have a high military population. We are very, the center of our heart is our military population for our students. And so they have to think differently. If you were a corpsman or you were an EMT coming into nursing school, you think, no problem. We get these people failing their exams, failing courses, because it's a different focus. It's a different perspective. It's a different way of understanding, and it's a different way of knowing. Traditional one-on-one, virtual, group, or peer. I don't like virtual. I don't know about you, but I'm zoomed out. I am just zoomed out. I would rather be face to face with people. So traditional, mentor and student are matched, meetings take place and they take priority, group mentorship. So these our students form study groups, and so we don't necessarily call them group mentorship because that's a different aspect of what we do. Peer mentoring. One of the things that I would like, and I'm trying to work on at our campus, is a peer mentoring program. Because a lot of the time, student doesn't want to ask me a question because they don't want to appear stupid, right? And no matter how I try, there are no stupid questions. Everything's fine. They'll go and ask their peer, who sometimes gives them the wrong answer, right? And so we are working so hard on the nursing aspect of things, but then all of that business about professionalism and communication and conflict resolution are also paramountly important. Peer mentoring, why I like it. It's student to student, and it would be a senior student who is performing academically well, and then a student who's farther in the beginning of the program. And it can focus on all of these things: socialization, Sometimes we get students and they're just very discouraged. And I say, do you have a study group? No. Well, who's your buddy in class? No, I don't. And sometimes that's because of prior life experiences that are interfering. So I really like peer mentoring with a faculty oversight so that we can monitor what we're doing, make sure they're adhering to what we want them to, and the outcomes are good. I'm going backwards. Time constraints. Our faculty teach multiple courses within a quarter. And so demanding schedules. Our students are also in different courses, 2, 3 courses a quarter. They don't believe they have the time to sit down in a mentorship program. Perceived lack of time, negative impact on quality and students' ability to learn and benefit from mentoring. So if I'm a mentor, as Dr. Geiger pointed out, and I'm not into it, if I'm not committed, if I'm not locked in, and I'm just kind of doing this, the student's not getting anything. Your nurse at the bedside is not getting anything. Your new leader is not getting anything. They're not getting your best. Do we give our best every single day? Absolutely not. But what's important, and especially when we talk about leadership, is self awareness and self reflection. Gee whiz, Donna, driving home. Go soak your head in the bucket. Come back tomorrow because it had been such a crazy, crazy day. Did I get anything done? Right. So I can't be half involved. Lack of mentorship training. It requires effective communication. We have people across our campus who don't know how to communicate with each other. Dr. Geiger had a particularly challenging experience. We're not that severe at this point, but we're working on it. We're working on it because communication to me means one thing, to you, it means another thing. I could say it. I think it's crystal clear. You're in a fog. You don't know what I'm talking about. Okay. And so understanding what is effective communication, what is active listening. I once had a friend who told me, don't ever try, nobody should try and talk to you when you're talking to a student because they might as well be invisible because I'm laser focused on whoever that is in front of me. And I'm going to be 64 in December. I've learned after all these years, get out of my head. Don't be thinking about how I'm going to answer you while I'm listening to what you're saying. And by the way, don't expect me to move my eyeballs from your eyeballs. Not everybody likes that. But and I have to watch that because I'm really locked in. So I have to gauge what do I need to do for the student or the faculty member or a new leader. Emotional support, very, very important. Generational gap in technology. I won't spend time. Dr. Geiger did. Her presentation was just fabulous. I was going to think I should just go home. That was just such a fabulous presentation. So, generational gap and technology divide. You know what the faculty say? The student. Well, first of all, get rid of the thieves because that's demeaning, right? I'm 64. My students sometimes are 19. We might as well be on different solar systems, right? And it takes time and it takes effort and it takes willingness on both parts. But being able to help them understand what is effective communication, then turn that into how do you learn? How do you learn best? I don't read, anybody in here read directions to anything when they put it together? You are my hero. You are my hero. I don't. And then my husband walks along and I go, what do you think this bolt is for? I don't think we need it. Right. Okay. But how do I learn? Just let me see how you're doing that. And then I'll do it. Right. I like lecture because I like looking at you. I like hearing you. I like questions. Other people don't like lecture. Okay. So learning styles, approaches to patient care. How many approaches to patient care do we have? And how long have we been talking about compassion? So when you're teaching, we're teaching, brain surgery, compassion is in there. And many of our students have never had compassion shown to them. So they don't know how to receive it. They don't know what to do with it. They don't trust it. And what do you want from me? Right? Technology savvy. I don't teach anymore, but I was very challenged to do Kahoot and Jeopardy and all this stuff because I'm not a gamer and I'm not really up on all this technology. If I were to step back into the classroom full time, I would have to because that's how I reach my students now. Resistance to change. Anybody really love change? I love change because I get bored if it's the same, 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 same. Don't tell my dean that because she'll be thinking I'm praying for conflicts. Resistance to change. I'm fine the way I'm doing it. My study program was fine until I got here. You people don't know what you're doing, right? Well, cool. Well, tell me about your study habit. Here's some things you can do to look at that. So, adoption of new teaching methods. Before I became a faculty member, I was doing reading in the literature, and I always heard about all this territorialism. This course. Everything is everything. We share, we are a profession. We are not a profession with divisions, only specialties. And when we have situations to where there are divisions in our circumstances within our organizations, we need to fix them. And what I tell my students is don't come when the P is this big. When the P problem is this big, that's great because we can figure it out and then we wait for the next problem to come. But if you come and it's like this, now we've lost time. So students are beginning to understand that, but we still have a lot of work to do. And our faculty went through it was a very stressful change. We are a national college. Galen College of Nursing is pure nursing. We have about 22, 24 campuses around the United States. San Antonio is the largest. So, in order for us to show consistency, we have to have standardized teaching plans. The faculty feel like I can't, this is not my stuff. I can't, why do I have to use this canned stuff? And I am one of those who would say that. I always created things from scratch. But we had to implement this huge change where now your lesson plans are this. Here are your PowerPoints. So it's no more. Can you teach foundations? Excellent. Here's the syllabus. It needs some work and it starts on Wednesday. Right? That's how I never, our faculty, they get 12 weeks of orientation. They partner with that faculty who's going to teach that course. So that's a big advantage to new faculty coming in. And we do hire some faculty who have not had teaching experience because we can teach them up, right? Heck, so updated approaches to nursing education, we're always changing. Workload and burnout, right? We add to workload. We have more students coming in. We have to split sections. Now, instead of teaching 3 sections, I'm teaching 4, and they're back to back to back to back. Right? And sometimes they're doing clinical at the same time. And our faculty are really sterling, but you can't go to them every quarter and go, could you please take on this course? Right? So, very, very challenging. Negative impact on the quality of mentoring and the relationship process. So, qualities and benefits of mentoring, we want to do all of these things. The hardest thing to do is this motivate thing. Some students and some nurses, let's say individuals, because many of you are not academics, people are either externally motivated or internally motivated, or they're a little bit of both. We have students who are very external. What are you going to do to motivate me? I don't know. What are you going to do to motivate yourself? I got to get myself out of bed in the morning. What are you doing? Right. So motivation is one of those things that if you go through the literature, we're still trying to figure that out. Is academic mentoring enough? What do you think? Why not? So we're laying a foundation, right? I think it's just the tip of the iceberg because underneath that waterline are all of those social determinants of health, which turn into social determinants of learning. And there's violence, there's illness, there's death, there's prison. We have some of our students who have served time years and years and years ago, and we make sure that's nothing that interferes. We talk to the state board, but there's a lot under that waterline that we can't see. And it's the same thing for every single one of you. I'm talking to you. I have no idea what's the bottom of your iceberg and how severe that is, how tolerable it is right now. And so what I have to do and what the faculty have to do is partner with our students, which is some of it's difficult because they don't trust to try and get to what's under here. Our college has probably 12 different academic resources for our students, plus social services, plus counseling. The counseling is free to them. So that kind of deals with all of this other stuff. But when I say, we have Ms. So and so, who's our school counselor, and it's no cost to you, here's your card. How many of you think go? Few, few go. When it really would be very helpful. Where are you all at in your wellness? On a scale of 1 to 10, what would you rate yourself? 10? Good. Oh, oh, see? She's thinking critically. 10 is wow. 1 is, hmm? I'm probably on any given day about 4 or 5. Honestly, I have my coffee in the morning. That's it. I don't drink anything else during the day until I get home. And I share that with students as an example of what not to do if you really want to be taking care of yourself. So now, why is that bad? Because it keeps you from feeling good about what you're doing, having your mind ready to go, having your body feeling like, okay, let's get this done. And some of you probably have some pretty heavy things on your shoulders that I'll never know about. And it's the same thing with my faculty. It's the same thing with your nurses. And it's the same thing with leaders as well. While nurses excel at caring for patients and family members, they often struggle to prioritize their own mental health and well being. So, with our faculty, and it pained me, it really pained me to listen to Dr. Geiger. No, you can't go to the funeral. No, you can't have that. That I remember, I got my associate degree in 1981. I remember that. Faculty member walks into my office and says, you know what? My dog woke up and had seizures this morning, and the vet said I can take him in this morning. Goodbye. Go take care of your dog. And it's not because I love dogs, it's because that's a support system. We have some people that their dog is the only person they have, all the way up to my father's dying, my grandfather's dying in Minnesota. We're like, go, get out of here. Let me know what you need. And so if there's vacation time, that's great. If there's not, people donate vacation time to whoever that is. Okay. So, but we don't prioritize ourselves because we're generally codependent, oppressed people, profession. Oppression in nursing in the nursing profession used to be extremely great back in the 80s. Managed care came, and it was like nurses just do what you're told. We didn't have a voice that we have now, and we want a louder voice. Back then, I would have to say we had none. So, prioritizing what we need is a critical thing to do above and beyond your job, my students. Sometimes family situations are very heavy and we have to deal with those things, and that interrupts our mental health and well-being. But the idea is to have a strategy, and most of our students don't. So Healthy Nurse, Healthy Nation, mental health study over 4 years. So 19% of probability. Dr. Grant went some of over this of anxiety disorder. And then even at 3 years, 2 years, 1 year, feeling sad and depressed, med-surg nurses has the highest probability of poor mental health. You know why? Because they got 7, 8 patients on med-surg, which is a lot because our sickest patients are now on med-surg. And then the patients who are like hanging by a fingernail are in the ICU. And all of the things that Dr. Grant talked about, violence, incivility, we do eat our young. That has not gone away. We have been talking about it for 30 years. They've been a nurse over 40 years this year, and we still haven't figured it out. And thank God for people like Cindy Clark, because we would know nothing, some of us, if it wasn't for her. What's your guess? I went into Google and I put resilience nursing students. How many hits do you think they got? In less than 30 seconds. 69 million. We're talking about it. It's all over the place. We keep talking about resilience, and now I've got my horns twisted. I'm from Brooklyn, New York, by the way, and I'm Italian. So I got my horns twisted on this one, which isn't good, just for you non-Italians. And so they go, well, resilience is important. Great. What are you doing for that? First of all, what are you doing for yourself? And then what are you doing for the people who report to you? Well, we have Donut Monday. Okay, it's an activity. Our students, you say we're going to have toast, they'll all come, right? But above and beyond anything else, we keep talking about it. And unless I'm in a vacuum, it does not appear like we have gotten very far, and especially with incivility. I'm losing my thing here. So that's a lot to go through and to research. It can seem very 67, not 69, 69 million. So a few professional resources. Clinician Resilience and Wellbeing. Ohio State has a conference every 2 years. Healthcare, it's healthcare and wellness. It's fabulous. It's up at Ohio State. Clinician Resilience and Wellbeing Plan for a Healthy Workforce. There are several entities that you guys probably already know about, and the Institute for the Institute for Healthcare Improvement, IHI, they have the Joy at Work program to go through. All of these initiatives to try and focus on you and focus on your environment. Healthy Nurse, Healthy Nation. I went to Sigma's Creating Healthy Workforce Environment I guess it was last month. And I brought home a stack of the Healthy Nurse, Healthy Nation flyers and put them on everybody's desk. And I went back around like a week later, and some of them just kind of like still had them on their desk. But I would really like all of our faculty and students to sign up because it really is a great program. Nursing World Practice Policy Nurse Suicide Prevention. Suicide and mental health issues are rising, and with students as well. From that pressure, from now I've got all of this debt. So some professional resources to pass on to you. So resilience, stress, and well-being, stress, all of these things. And it doesn't matter which environment that you're working in. Your nurses are going to have financial pressure. Your new graduates are going to have fear of mistakes. And they're not going to ask questions because they don't want people to think they don't know what they're doing. Fear of failure. How many of you have experienced the imposter syndrome? Yay, team. Yeah. Bad voices telling you untrue things. Same, I raised my hand too, right? Our students, they think that they're not going to be able to be a nurse. We have a subset who say, I'm not going to make it. Don't, get that out of your head because you now are creating a self-fulfilling prophecy. And our nurses do that also. Private versus academic lives. So, or healthcare lives. You got a life at work and you got a life at home. You have sick parents, you have sick children, you yourself have medical issues that you have to tend to. There is no balance. There's no balance. People talking about balance. There's no balance. There's integration. And the degree to which we can integrate our private life and our work life, that's where we're headed. There's no balance. At least I really believe there's no balance. We can do our best to try and figure out how to tend to all these things. And then for us, coursework, clinical exams, negative consequences result in students not learning what they need to learn. Physical and psychological health. I mean, we've had a couple of students who said they're going to kill themselves. And we have students who are in domestic violence situations, and we got these people calling the school and saying all these horrible things about people that aren't true. Physical and psychological health, very, very important. So what is the student story? Students come to us like this. And some of them who have had bad experiences in their life might come like this with some leaves sticking out, right? So our obligation is to be the other hand, whether that student is pleasant or that nurse is pleasant or not. Because when the lights go out at the end of the day, compassion and caring are pillars for the nursing profession. So students come to us like, okay, here we go. And some of them come like, I got this, no problem, right? Life experiences matter. So neighborhoods, childhood traumas, increased sensitivity or future failure. This is sad. 4 to 16% of children experience physical abuse, neglect, 1 in 10 psychological abuse and neglect. Some of those students are sitting in our chairs, school. Some of these are your nurses. Some of these are your doctors. Some of these are your administrators. Nobody's exempt. Results in ineffective coping, low self-confidence, and low resilience, maladaptive learning behaviors. So we periodically find, though, those little bottles of vodka in our stairwell. That's a bad coping mechanism, right? Higher than the national average in pre-licensure nursing, maybe related to traumatic events in the student's life, adverse childhood experiences, poor academic performance, burnout, self-harm, and all these things can be due to this. Not because you're just not doing what you're supposed to do. It doesn't look like you read the assignment. How are you going to make it through? I don't think you're going to make it through. Okay. So rather than what's going on at home, is there anything that's causing you to not be successful? How can we help you with that? Faculty relationship matters, and so do academic leaders. Determination, aspirations and goals, positive outlook, coping mechanisms influence resilience. Personal, internal motivation. I'm more internally motivated than I am externally motivated. But from a personal standpoint, if you've got a person working for you who has some ability to maintain their motivation, their self-care, and their self-esteem, they're on a good path. Relational, family support, and social networks also um, affect resilience. And then environmental also. Relationships with instructors. Same thing with leaders and nurses. Some of the people who report up to us really don't think we support them. And no matter what we say, they don't trust that we support them. Okay. And so relationships with instructors, that's the role model for caring in the nurse-patient relationship. So I always have to check in with my faculty. How are you doing? I have to tell you, I heard a student feedback. What happened in class this morning? Because they'll come right in and say how horrible the faculty are. So student support services, all of these things add up to resilience. So some protective resources, AACN, nursing schools must promote strategies to enhance well-being and resilience. Doesn't say it's a good idea or maybe you should once a week, right? That's who we're raising to take care of society. And our largest responsibility, aside from teaching students, is society. Move from crisis intervention to prevention. Try and develop caring, support, and trust. Mindfulness, reflection. We ended up by request of the students. We have a meditation room. None of us brilliant people thought about that. Students did. And it also serves as a prayer room for Muslim students and any other student who needs to pray during the day. Necessary for learning and resilience, psychological safety, sense of belonging. We got back to belonging. There's a difference with that word, belonging. And then personal versus academic integration. That's what we need to do. There's no balance. What resources exist in your programs or in your hospitals? And for those of you that are in healthcare, you have employee assistance programs? Do you have support group services or any of that? When the second baby who the nurses really loved in the NICU dies, do you have somebody that comes along and brings the nurses together? How about on your oncology units? Those people, you get to know everybody and their dog. Of course, I'd be looking at their dog pictures. Everybody else be looking at the kids, right? But you get to know every single thing about them. How do you support those nurses? We had a false active shooter call. Some nut decided they were going to call in active shooter reports for 7 nursing schools in Texas. By the time, so our building is a 15-floor building. I'm on about the 14th floor. By the time somebody burst in the door and said, SWAT is on the 3rd floor. I'm like, what is SWAT doing on the 3rd floor? I get up and I go down to see what SWAT is doing on the 3rd floor. There's a shooter in the building. There were 4 ambulances, 2 helicopters in the sky. There were at least 12 police cars. There were 50 police officers. SWAT was running through the building, and our students did not feel safe. They still don't feel safe because our building is hard to secure. So we had to figure out how we're going to help students have psychological safety in a situation to where somebody was supposedly shooting up the school. Who's on your emotional support team? Do you have one? Yes, no? You know, mhm. Many times we are our support team. We got to get off the team and be a participant because emotional support is also our foundation in leadership, in nursing, in whoever you are. Because if you cannot be centered and be in a place to where you can receive all the things you need to receive, you can't function, or you don't function as well as you would. So my students here, can we please come back to Zen Center, whatever you want to call that, because we need to talk about this like rational people. Okay. My support team are these people. And they're the best support team. My husband's there too. I have a husband. He's taking care of these people, but they all have different personalities. They all have different needs, and they all are glad to see me, whether, I am a good person or a bad person, right? This is my support team. So when I go home, I look forward to going home to my family, but these people really lift me up. They're with me everywhere. I have 5 dogs sleeping on the floor in the bathroom of the shower when I'm showering in the morning. They all troop in. I'm never alone, which is good. But whatever whatever it is, make it be something. Make it be something because we need all of us. We're going to talk about mental health. Really, very much what we took for granted years ago, we can no longer take for granted. Plain and simple. So it's a community effort. So you as healthcare leaders, us as academics, we have to join hands with whoever that is to support and to help those roots grow. In summary, create a culture of student success or nursing success or interdisciplinary success. Mentoring as a comprehensive strategy can promote student success, and all those things, as Robin said, you got to want to do it. Both mentee and mentor. Acknowledge the importance of life experiences. I might have a student who comes in with something that is like, wouldn't even cross my radar screen if it happened. But it's real to them and it's important to them. So I listen. We all should listen and say, that's horrible. If that were me, I would feel horrible. How can we help you? What do you need from us? And that's it. Thank you very much.